Jim Callis joining me now, senior writer from MLB Pipeline, of course, does a tremendous job on MLB.com, and Jim is already in San Diego. So what can we expect over the course of the next 2 days?
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of the best players in the draft, Alanna. I think we have 139 guys on our MLB Pipeline Draft Top 200 are here. Tomorrow we have a 3-hour broadcast where there's going to be a lot of performance testing, and we'll kind of get behind the scenes on that. And then Friday is the big show, 6.5-hour workout that we'll have broadcasting the whole thing. You'll see guys taking BP, pitchers throwing bullpens, infield, outfield, guys running. You get to see everybody doing a lot of everything. It's kind of cool this year. It's in a big league park here in Petco, kind of a cool environment.
I love the way that Major League Baseball is focusing a lot more on this combine and people getting involved in it, much like the NFL has done for years. And, you know, some of these kids you have heard of, certainly, but the general public has not. But there are some kids trying to make their way to the big league level that have some family ties that we are aware of. Tell us a little bit more about some of the bloodlines.
Yeah, there's a ton of bloodlines in this year's draft, and just some of the guys who are here. Carl Crawford's son Justin's a potential first-round pick. I think he'll probably go in the top half of the first round. He's a high schooler from Nevada, kind of like his dad with maybe a stronger arm. You've got Cam Collier, Lou's son, who's one of the best hitters in the draft. He reclassified, Alanna. He would have been a high school junior this year. He reclassified to 2022. Then he graduated early, went to junior college. Chipola, one of the top programs in the country. And he's playing in the Cape Cod League. I can't ever remember a 17-year-old in the Cape Cod League. We've also got Daniel Suzak, catcher from Arizona, whose brother Andrew was in the big leagues. And Brooks Lee, the Cal Poly shortstop. His dad, Larry, is the coach at Cal Poly, and his uncle, Terry, was a first-round pick back in 1974. So that's just a few of the bloodlines we have here.
That's awesome to see some of these younger kids, but it also makes me feel old. I remember when Justin Crawford was running around the clubhouse when Carl, his dad, came from the Red Sox to the Dodgers. So thanks for making me feel old, Jim. I appreciate that. All right, who are some pitchers to watch?
Well, the number one guy to watch, I think that everybody's really dying to see, is Connor Prelip from the University of Alabama. He's a left-hander. He was a potential number one overall pick, but he had Tommy John surgery last May. He didn't pitch this season for the Crimson Tide. The Cubs have only seen him throw once so far. He threw a bullpen right before the SEC tournament. He'll throw a bullpen Friday, and if all goes well, he could still find himself somewhere in the middle of the first round. A couple of guys who aren't necessarily first-rounders, but are going to be kind of fun to watch in terms of the radar gun. Ben Joyce of Tennessee, who famously hit 105 miles an hour with a fastball earlier this year. He'll be throwing on Friday. And even lesser known than him, but also very intriguing, and there's a kid named Jacob Mizorowski from Crowder, Missouri Junior College, who's 6'7", throws 100 miles an hour, all kinds of crazy metrics on the fastball, and guys are really looking forward to watching him pitch too. We'll see both those guys, all three of those guys, throw on TV on Friday.
All right, so those are the arms to look out for. What about the position players? Who are some hitters to watch?
Well, Termarr Johnson's probably not only the best pure hitter in this draft, the best pure hitter in the high school ranks, but scouts say he might be the best pure hitter to come out of high school in 20 or so years. He's going to take BP on Friday. That'll be fun to watch. You know, I mentioned Cam Collier is one of the better hitters in this draft. He'll take BP on Friday, so we'll have fun watching that. And just in terms of sheer exit velocities, guy who's a little like maybe more of a second or third round pick, Tyler Locklear out of VCU, he hits the ball really hard. So it'll be kind of fun to see how far he can hit the ball here and how hard he can hit it at Petco. And we'll be measuring distances and exit velocities and spin rates and miles an hour. All that stuff will be on the screen. So it'll be kind of cool to see what numbers guys are hitting.
And Jim, you had mentioned 139 young men going to be there at this combine. Some high school, some college level players. Some will choose to participate on-field activities. Some will not. What's the benefit to both?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on how good you feel about your draft stand. And I mentioned 139 guys on our draft top 200. I think there's 250 or so total. But yeah, I mean, if you're going maybe at the top of the first round, you know, and you've played it, like, especially if you're a college guy, guys have seen you play 60 games. There's not necessarily a lot to gain, but if maybe you're trying to boost your draft stock, I mean, there were guys last year, you know, Brock Selvage is a guy who jumps to mind. He's a high school pitcher from Arizona. He'd had a great summer the year before in the showcase circuit, had a bad spring, but he came out and he pitched really well for 4 innings, and he kind of changed his mechanics back to what he was comfortable with, and he did really well in the interviews, and he wound up signing for $1.5 million with the Yankees. So I think if you're not quite established in that first round territory, you really can make a difference here. And you know, it's a quick impression, and these guys have been scouted before, but you can boost your stock here at the Combine for sure.
I would imagine if you're in that top category, say first or second round, are you meeting with every single club? Tell me a little bit more about the semantics of it I would imagine all 30 teams have a representative there. How does it work?
Yeah, all 30 teams have multiple representatives here. And I know the teams can tell MLB who they want to interview. I don't know that all 30 teams are interviewing every player. And say the top of the first round guys, I mentioned Termarr Johnson, as being the best pure high school hitter in years. Termarr Johnson's going the top 10 picks. So I don't know that Termarr Johnson's necessarily interviewing with teams that are picking in the 20s. But, for the guys who aren't at the top of the draft, some guys are doing, 15, 20 interviews. I think it's a 25-minute session with each team. And, I know I was talking to one guy yesterday. There was one of the meetings he had scheduled. He was going to meet with 14 club officials at one time from that team were going to be there. So, it's a way. I mean, again, a lot of the area scouts have talked to these guys, Alanna, but the GM hasn't, GM or scouting director hasn't necessarily gotten that face-to-face time, and it's just a way to get to go know a guy a little bit better. I think any data, whether it's on field, it's performance, it's metrics, it's just getting to know a person. Every little piece of data helps. You want to try to paint as complete a picture of these guys as you can because it's so tough. I mean, even the college guys who are 21, 22 years old, and you got high school guys 17, 18 years old. You're trying to project what they're going to be 5, 10 years down the road. That's hard. So I think any piece of information you can get is useful. And teams and players, everybody loved the interview process last year. I think that was a highlight for a lot of guys.
Yeah, prospect, Jim, as you know, means not yet proven. Are there nerves involved? I mean, they're still kids. Let's be honest. 21, 22, 17, 18. You're still a kid. Are there nerves? Are there some anxious faces around? What have you noticed with these young men?
I don't think so much for the on-field stuff because, I mean, they're playing 2 high school games. There'll be a high school game today, a high school game tomorrow. These guys, like a lot of the high school players, almost all of them have played on the showcase circuit. They've been in big league parks. Same thing for the college guys. They've played in big arenas. This isn't going to have 40 or 50,000 fans here, but they've been in big league parks. So I don't think there's so much nervous. The on-field stuff's routine. I do think talking to some of the guys. Sometimes, when you get in the interview rooms, sometimes there's joking around and it's fun and games. And then sometimes teams can have some pointed questions for you. And, you can feel like you're getting grilled a little bit. You're under the spotlight. So I think the interview part might be maybe that has the most nerves for guys.
All right. Well, they're waiting to get the wooden bats and the triple decks in the stadiums. Jim Callis with MLB Pipeline. Thank you so much for your coverage. We'll see you in Petco tomorrow as MLB Network has the Combine coverage, 10 hours of live programming. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Alanna. See you out here.